As most of you already know, for this upcoming Deathbat episode, we got a surprising matchup between two of media's most famous as well as most powerful fictional characters who frankly earned the title of being called monsters. One is the Hulk, the strongest Avenger there is, and the other is Godzilla, the king of the monsters. And initially, I thought this fight wasn't going to be close, believing it would be an easy stomp for the Hulk. After all, despite the clear size difference, the Hulk is no stranger to fighting foes who are bigger than him, and while there have been various incarnations of Godzilla over the years, with each also varying in strength, most are usually on the ballpark of being around city to multi-continental level, with a certain few being around planetary or at best star level. Though you could say that Godzilla is solar system level, Hulk has proven to be above that, being able to face beings who are universal level threats. However, after the recent events of the crossover comic Godzilla Destroyed the Marvel Universe, I had to slightly reevaluate my analysis of Godzilla's overall battle prowess, especially if Death Battle is going to combine every incarnation of the King of the Monsters into one separate entity. For that reason alone, the fight between these two unstoppable yet heroic forces of nature might actually be close, but as for how close, well, let's find out. This is Animanko 9000, a channel where we talk about content related to anime, manga, and other types of media. In this video, I'll be discussing about just how close Hulk vs Godzilla will be. Also, please as usual, if you want to hear more of the content I mentioned earlier, just subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the noti bell. Okay, to kick things off, let's start with each combatant's healing factor. And full disclosure, both of their regenerative ability are pretty broken, like it makes them even more seemingly unkillable. In Hulk's case, his healing factor is so advanced that not only can he heal from grave injuries and diseases, but also regrow or reattach lost limbs or a head, and keep himself alive even after his whole body was cut into separate pieces. As for Godzilla, the incarnation from the -1 film has such an advanced healing factor that even though his entire face was blown off, he was able to restore it within seconds, and almost like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, he's also able to restore his whole body as long as a single piece of him remains. Honestly speaking, with something like this overpowered, the only way that both combatants' healing ability can become ineffective is if both of them can destroy each other's entire body, which is almost impossible since both of these raging beasts are also extremely durable. For instance, Hulk's durability is so great that he can withstand hits from some of Marvel's heaviest hitters on a daily basis, as well as being unfazed to some like Captain Marvel's. Of course, what's more impressive is how Hulk is able to survive against attacks that can destroy planets, or that are equivalent to multiple supernovas. Now, regarding Godzilla's durability, arguably, most can be compared to Hulk's, since they will only be able to withstand city-level or solar system attacks. That being said, there was one who was able to survive against a black hole, and others being able to withstand the harsh conditions of hell, tank hits from the likes of Superman, and apparently, in the most recent Marvel crossover event with Godzilla, took a hit from a Celestial. You know, Marvel's cosmic level beings who are so powerful that their stats are practically immeasurable. So with that, I say it even things out for each character's durability. But in terms of speed, Hulk gets a point here, because despite his own large frame, he is incredibly fast, enough so that it's stated he is easily comparable to those like the Silver Surfer, who can travel across the universe within minutes. Something, let's be real, not possible for Godzilla to match, especially since his own massive body can only allow him to move no faster than superhuman speed, maybe slightly above subsonic if he is motivated enough. Not to mention, Hulk is far more agile, and being relatively smaller than Godzilla should give the former an advantage, as even the latter would have a difficult time facing against smaller targets. Then again, considering how other incarnations were able to keep up with Superman and Thor, Godzilla's reaction speed could eventually adapt towards Hulk's unique movement. It's really hard to say, but I guess it's possible if Godzilla could also predict Hulk's reckless movement. In any case, when it comes down to these two, the biggest deciding factor for who's the top monster is their strength and attack power, and let me tell you, it's not as simple as it seems. Because in hindsight, Hulk's strength is dependent on his anger. From moderate to extreme, he could lift an entire mountain, to stopping a planet from falling apart, or destroying one for that matter, to then later on destroy an entire realm of a single dimension. And as he continues to get angry, Hulk's strength would be limitless, allowing him to easily overpower Godzilla. However, in his initial base level of power, you could make the argument that Godzilla could overpower the Hulk before he reaches his maximum strength, and probably so if you take into account of how the King of the Monsters was able to knock out Superman and Thor in one blow. Plus, with Godzilla's signature atomic breath, it makes him even more troublesome, as one version was powerful enough to drill all the way down to Hollow Earth, another one killing a demon god, although it did gain a power up before doing so, and another managing to destroy a black hole. Above all else, Going back to that crossover comic of Godzilla destroying the Marvel Universe, he was able to kill a Celestial, a nearly impossible feat for many of the characters in the Marvel Universe. Adding to the fact that some of Godzilla's incarnations can also break through dimensions, I can understand why a lot of fans are betting on Godzilla to win. Nevertheless, I wouldn't count Hulk out just yet. In fact, I still think the Green Goliath has a chance. Granted, the Hulk hasn't exactly been seen in a better light, no thanks to the MCU, but in case it wasn't obvious enough, comic book Hulk is far superior, having stronger feats and capable of surviving against the worst conditions. Additionally, even though I did say that Godzilla one-shot Thor and Superman, in both cases, it was only possible because one of them kind of underestimated the king of the monsters and let his guard down, and the other was caught off guard by Godzilla's atomic breath while also being more focused on saving and protecting someone from the attack. Moreover, in another crossover event where Godzilla fought against a variant of Thor, the latter was able to fight almost evenly against one of the former's incarnation, with both ending up killing each other. As such, I believe the Hulk can endure most of Godzilla's attacks long enough until the former eventually turns the table. As for Godzilla's atomic breath, well, I am 90% sure the Hulk would be resistant against such an attack, even absorb some of his energy to further increase his strength, assuming the atomic breath does contain some bit of gamma radiation, which is the source of the Hulk's overall power. Now, in regards to Godzilla killing a Celestial, that is going to be an issue for Hulk given how he has never faced an actual Celestial before. But at the same time, he has fought against opponents who are about as strong or stronger than any Celestial that exists. Such as the time when the Hulk overpowered and destroyed the entity known as Onslaught with a single punch, and it was after the latter integrated with Franklin Richards' powers into himself. And FYI, the punch the Green Goliath unleashed had enough potency to obliterate the universe. There was also one when he fought against one of Iron Man's most powerful armor, an armor that was built from the body of a dead Celestial, and was even designed to face the Hulk. What's more, going back to the matter of Godzilla fighting against one of Thor's variants, the one the former fought was the God of Thunder's regular form, whereas Hulk has fought evenly against Odin's Thor, who is more powerful than the variant in a crossover comic. Furthermore, with some implication that Marvel's Sentry might also be stronger than a Celestial, then it could suggest that Hulk is too, since they did fight in a stalemate once. Of course, if that's not convincing enough, there is one other feat that could indicate Hulk being stronger than any Celestial, and that's the moment when he cracked and broke the chains that were forged from the first Fenrirman's essence, and was endowed with power on scale comparable to or greater than that of Eternity, who by the way is much powerful than any Celestial being. Frankly, after knowing about this incredible feat, Hulk by all means should be winning this fight. Plus, contrary to what you might believe, as well as his many victories against other famous opponents, Godzilla is not unstoppable, and there are plenty of moments when the king of the monsters was very close to losing or dying from a fight, and only recovered due to outside help. Gotta be real here, the only thing that can really take away Hulk's chance of victory, and make him lose a third time, is that stupid non-physical contract, where apparently Godzilla always has to win, or at least can't lose in every crossover event. It's basically unfair plot armor, which also happens to be a power-up and why Godzilla is able to take on opponents who will usually be above him. Although I have been told that Death Battle won't do that, and honestly, they mustn't, because doing so would be no different than saying that the fight has been rigged, and unless one of the combatants is Deadpool or Homelander, the way they handle their matchup should remain somewhat fair as usual. But putting that aside, there is one more factor that could end with Godzilla being the winner, and that's his ability to absorb radiation, which he could use to absorb Hulk's radiation to further empower himself and catch up to the latter's overall maximum strength. At the same time, it could also end up making him lose, because while it's never officially stated out loud, there might be a limit of how much radiation or any form of energy Godzilla can absorb, and it can be slightly backed up from the MonsterVerse incarnation. Sure, that version of Godzilla has shown to be capable of absorbing a ridiculous amount of radiation, but if he absorbs more than he can handle, it would be detrimental to him. As such, given Hulk's limitless power, I doubt that Godzilla could really drain all of the Green Goliath's energy without either overloading himself or go through a nuclear meltdown. If that's the case, then I can honestly see how this fight might end, and that's with the Hulk pulling a move similar to what the 2003 version did, where he releases a seemingly endless amount of energy, forcing Godzilla to absorb more said energy that he can sustain, and resulting in him to then explode and destroy the area they are at. Of course, I'm just spitballing here, but who knows, it could happen. And if by some reason Death Battle is still going to apply that Godzilla can't lose contract, then I think there are two ways to circumvent that. One is where the battle ends in a draw, with both of them dying, or 2, even after Hulk manages to destroy Godzilla's body, as long as a piece of him remains alive, then he could slowly begin to revive himself. This way, Hulk would still be the winner, but that also means that Godzilla technically hasn't lost yet. It seems plausible, and remains true to Godzilla's whole thing of being unkillable. Though if I'm being honest, I really hope that Hulk wins. He doesn't just deserve it, he needs it, especially how the character has been poorly treated in every form of media, except maybe the comics. Still, I wouldn't be surprised if Godzilla somehow wins, but let's see how the actual death battle fight will turn out once it arrives. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. With nothing else to say, let's hope the fight can live up to the hype. If you have any other ideas of who might win in this fight, just leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.